Monroe Freeling got owned by a Notre Dame defensive line that was uber talented, and it was a large part of why Georgia was unsuccessful in that Sugar Bowl was offensive line play. They couldn't get the run game started. Gunnar Stockton was constantly under pressure in his first ever start as a Georgia Bulldog, and Monroe Freeling caught a lot of that flack. He comes into 2025 hearing all these reports from spring ball, from fall camp, and he has a great season. Like I said, some injuries got to him. He wasn't always in the game, but when he was an anchor on that Georgia offensive line. So he's got some tape to back it up, but a huge combine performance from Monroe Freeling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Ham. This is episode 14 here on the Hammy Show, presented by First American Bank and Trust, and nobody else, because First American Bank and Trust, my friends, is the best bank in the entire world. They have gotten the Hammy Show off of the ground, and we are rolling. We are taking this thing to the moon, and it would not be possible without First American. So whether you need a business account, a personal account, anything like that opened, check out First American Bank and Trust because, like I said, they're the best bank in the world. It's in the name, First American, of course. All right, we got a big weekend to cover. We didn't talk yesterday, so it is on to Tuesday, and we're talking a little bit about the weekend, and then we're looking forward to the rest of the week as we get into this crazy, wild world of sports. What highlighted the weekend? NFL Combine, ladies and gentlemen, and college basketball. We've got both here today, but let's start with the NFL Combine. Mike Washington has to be the story of the weekend from the Combine. The Arkansas running back came in as a day 3 guy. He was projected to go in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of the NFL draft. But what does he do? He shows up to the Combine, runs the fastest time among all running backs, a 4.33 40-yard dash. He performs better than any running back at this year's Combine and all time. He had the highest rating among any running back in the history of the NFL Combine. That is Mike Washington. So his draft stock surely boosted. I know a lot of these NFL scouts don't count the Combine as the end-all, be-all. They watch the tape. They see what they did in college, whether it was 3, 4, 5 years at the college level. But Mike Washington, my friends, had to have boosted his draft stock thanks to his performance at the Combine. Mighty impressive from the Arkansas running back. Then you got to talk about Sonny Stiles. Sonny Stiles was one of the most electrifying linebackers we've ever seen at a Combine. His vertical, his 40-yard dash, his everything that he did was not unexpected because he was a really good linebacker all season long, but he kind of fell in the shadows of a really dominant Ohio State defense. You've got a guy in Arvell Reese who's one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in all of college football in 2025. Then you've got Caleb Downs, the highly touted safety, transfer from Alabama. Everybody was talking about him as he was the most highly touted safety prospect in the transfer portal when he was in that class. But in the past 2 years at Ohio State, he helped them to a national championship and, of course, to a insane season this year. He was one of the most dominant defensive players in all of college football as well. But Sonny Stiles, my friends, he boosted his draft stock in the latest mock draft from Jordan Reed on ESPN.com. He has Sonny Stiles going to the Titans at 5th overall. Sonny Stiles big time boosted his draft stock. Arvell Reese is still ahead of him among the draft boards, among the mock drafts, all that good stuff. But Sonny Stiles, huge performance at the Combine, one of the most dominant we've ever seen from a linebacker in Combine history. And for all my Georgia people watching out there, Monroe Freeling had a great Combine as well, a great interview or a few interviews with some great teams, and he jumped up his draft board and draft stock as he, in Jordan Reed's latest mock draft, has all the way been projected as the number 6 overall pick to the Cleveland Browns. So Monroe Freeling kind of entered Combine week as a late first rounder, maybe even second or third round in some mock drafts. But this one that just dropped after the Combine says he's going number 6 overall as an offensive tackle. Huge stuff for Monroe Freeling. We saw Monroe Freeling really take a step forward, but injuries kind of plagued him throughout his Georgia career. But if you remember, if you go back to 2024, New Year's second day of 2025 against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. Monroe Freeling got owned by a Notre Dame defensive line that was uber talented, and it was a large part of why Georgia was unsuccessful in that Sugar Bowl was offensive line play. They couldn't get the run game started. Gunnar Stockton was constantly under pressure in his first ever start as a Georgia Bulldog, and Monroe Freeling caught a lot of that flack. He comes into 2025 hearing all these reports from spring ball, from fall camp, and he has a great season. Like I said, some injuries got to him. He wasn't always in the game, but when he was an anchor on that Georgia offensive line. So he's got some tape to back it up, but a huge combine performance from Monroe Freeling. Finally, from the combine, the short arms debate is back in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. After a performance from Will Campbell in Super Bowl 60, when the Seahawks defensive line just owned Will Campbell. The Will Campbell accusations of him having baby arms, him having short arms, really caught a lot of steam. It really gained and spread like wildfire, and they blamed the Patriots' just lack of any offensive production on Will Campbell. And I'm not in that boat. I think maybe the short arms have something to do with him not being as near of a good offensive line as he was projected to be out of LSU entering his rookie season. He had a very, very decrease in efficiency when he faced longer arm defensive linemen. So all that to say, the short arm debate has come back into full effect as Ruben Bain, one of the most dominant defensive tackles, defensive linemen in college football in 2025, he measured in with 30-inch arms, which is incredibly short for a defensive lineman. Now, some of these people were looking at it like, oh, well, he could be the next Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald was never the biggest guy, but he was just a meatball, a bowling ball of pure muscle, and he might have had short arms, but he was one of the most dominant defensive linemen, probably the most dominant defensive lineman in NFL history. So could Ruben Bain be that? We never know. We shall see. But he does get the short arm accusation as he measures in with 30-inch arms. And boy, oh boy, did Twitter have a field day. Instagram had a field day. All of social media had a field day making fun of Ruben Bain. I feel bad for him because if you go watch his tape as a college defensive lineman, he was one of the most dominant in the 2025 season. At Miami, he was a large part of why the Hurricanes made it to the national championship and were 50 yards away from winning a national championship over the Indiana Hoosiers. Ruben Bain wreaked havoc on Trinidad Chambliss in the semifinal, on Ohio State and Julian Sayin in the quarterfinal, on Texas A&M and Marcel Reed in the first round of the college football playoff. Ruben Bain was one of the most dominant performers throughout the course of the entire college football playoff. So I'm not selling my stock on Ruben Bain. I think he's still going to be a really, really good NFL player. I think he's got all the promise in the world, all of the intangibles except for the short arms. So I think that is a stupid accusation. If I'm an NFL scout, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm looking at Ruben Bain pretty heavily as we go into draft season for entering this 2026 NFL draft. All right. So that wraps up some combine talk. Great week from the combine. Saw some flying 40s, saw some really high verticals, saw some big-time performances on the bench press. Loved what I saw out of the NFL combine. I am uber pumped for this NFL draft. The draft is almost as good as like a great Sunday of NFL football. Like a great Sunday of NFL football when you've got, 5 or 6 games of some seriously highly talented teams going against each other. The draft rivals that. The first and second and third rounds, those first 2 days are all-time electric. And now the NFL draft is at NFL stadiums and NFL buildings, which it's so awesome. I'm a huge fan of the draft. So we're going to have a major mock draft coming out as we near the draft. So stay tuned for that on the social medias. But guys, the NFL Combine wraps up. It was a great week, but let's move on. World Baseball Classic. It is about to hit it hard tomorrow. The World Baseball Classic kicks off, and it's going to be fun. Can the U.S. continue international dominance in sport? We saw what hockey did in men's and women's. Now it's baseball's turn to own the world. So on the diamond, guys, this American roster is one of the better ones we've seen in the World Baseball Classic. 2 years ago, last time the World Baseball Classic took place, we saw kind of a major spike in attention and viewership in the World Baseball Classic, and I think it's going to carry that momentum into this one. This one has been really hyped up, especially with the hockey team and the Winter Olympics and the American dominance there. I think America is really rallying around sport as this world gets crazier and crazier, not to get too political, but I think this Team USA has a real chance. A lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but this lineup is awesome. All right, let's go through it. Your pitchers, you're headlined by Paul Skeens, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates superstar, Tarek Skubal, Cy Young Award winner, and Mason Miller, the Padres pitcher. Those are your starters. Catchers, you got Cal Raleigh and Will Smith. Will Smith was dominant for the Dodgers, a huge piece in that World Series team this year. Cal Raleigh hit the most home runs by a catcher ever for the Mariners last year. Won the home run derby. He is not only a dangerous bat, but he's great in the field behind the plate. Super excited for the big dumper in the World Baseball Classic. Then your infielders, they're headlined by Alex Bregman, Bryce Harper, Gunnar Henderson, and Bobby Witt Jr. They're going to be a star-studded cast. Of course, they have the bats to compete as one of the highest-powered hitting lineups in the World Baseball Classic. But in the field, those are some of the most dominant golden gloves that you could have out there, and I'm super excited to see those guys. And finally, the outfield. Your captain of the team, Aaron Judge, leads the charge in the outfield names. Byron Buxton, another name that's going to be a big-time contributor to this World Baseball Classic Team USA team. Roman Anthony, Pete Crow Armstrong, they round out your outfielders. So, super pumped for this World Baseball Classic. Paul Skeens. Guys, yesterday a story was put out there by Outkick Coverage, and it was an interview they did with Paul Skeens, just a little sideline hit. It wasn't anything special, but the reporter asked, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. I want to give credit, but it was Outkick. Asked Paul Skeens, they were like, tell us a little bit about your story and why you care so much about the World Baseball Classic and putting on the three letters USA on your chest. And Skeens went all into how he played for Air Force, went to Air Force, thought he was going to have a career in service in our military, and putting on the red, white, and blue is a close second to serving in this nation's military. Awesome story from Paul Skeens. He's going to be a leader on this team. He's going to be one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball for years to come, and I think he's a super big-time bonus for this Team USA as we battle it out with teams like Japan and the Dominican and a bunch of the Central American teams that have so many superstars on those rosters. Japan obviously won the World Baseball Classic last time around, but Team USA is fighting for that crown. So Skeens, huge story, huge piece of this team, and will definitely be a major contributor. But it all rounds out with what dominated, unfortunately, the headlines of the World Baseball Classic, and that is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge had one of the most underwhelming speeches in sports history. It was really pathetic, guys. If you looked at it, saw it on Twitter, every single person was like, Aaron Judge has me ready to run through a wet napkin. Nobody was fired up. It is just very monotone, not at all hitting the nerves that get you going to play a sport. So, Captain America, he is, of course, the captain of this team. Aaron Judge has got to work on his pregame speeches as we get into this World Baseball Classic. But a super funny headline coming in to the World Baseball Classic. So, Aaron Judge, just refine your pregame speeches a little bit, and we'll get this thing rolling. In America, let's crown ourselves. Let's crown ourselves world champs in the World Baseball Classic. All right, PGA Tour, that's next up. Bay Hill, baby. Arnold Palmer Invitational. Arnie Palmy alert, guys. This is one of the best tournaments in the PGA Tour season. It is an always fun watch. Russell Henley is your defending champ. Of course, you've got Scotty and Rory and a bunch of the guys that, everybody's going to be playing in it. Those are your two favorites. Of course, they are. Scotty is going to enter every single tournament this year as a heavy favorite. Arnold Palmer Invitational, it's going to be electric. Please tune in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What a performance. 750 points, FedEx points on the line for this PGA Tour event. It is going to be a fun one this weekend. All right, college basketball, that is dominating. It is March. March is here. The madness is about to begin. We've got the final 2 games for most of these teams to round out their seasons. Tonight, it kicks off with the first game of the 2-game stretch to close out the regular season. We've got some big-time games, but let's talk about what happened last night. Duke absolutely waxes NC State. NC State got that win over UNC a couple of weeks ago. Everybody was like, wow, the Wolfpack, they're going to be a dangerous team in the ACC tournament and potentially the NCAA tournament. They have lost like 4 of their last 5 or 5 of their last 6. They are on a bad skid right now, and they got absolutely dominated in the paint, behind the arc. I mean, everything about that game was bad for NC State. I posted a video last night. They had a wedgie on a free throw. You know how hard that is to do? You see a wedgie on like maybe a dunk and you get rim stuffed, or a layup and you just put it right in between the rim and the backboard. You never see that on a free throw. And from then on, you just knew NC State was absolutely screwed. They were tied 18-18, and Duke proceeded to go on a 41-17 run in the next 18 minutes of play. Duke is the most dominant team in college basketball right now. We, of course, saw them match up with Michigan, the former number 1 team. They take down Michigan. So those 2 teams are definitely at the top. Michigan had a bad day shooting. Michigan could beat Duke if they kind of figure it out. But Duke is a dominant defensive team, a really hot shooting team right now. They're definitely the favorites to win the ACC. They're the number 1 team in the country, the favorites to win it all. Duke is going to be a lot to handle come tournament time. But one of the things I want to talk about from last night as well was Arizona. Arizona is the number 2 team in the country right now, and the Wildcats got a massive win over the number 6 Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State has definitely been one of those teams that's floated around in the top 2, top 3, top 4 all season long. They've dropped to number 6, but the Cyclones are a really, really stinking good team, and Arizona dominates them as well. 73-57 was their final from last night. Braden Burries is one of the best players in college basketball. You've got Cam Boozer, you got Burries. Boozer, of course, for Duke. Burries with Arizona. You've got Acuff with Arkansas. DeBonsa with BYU. Those are kind of your Naismith names to keep your eye on. But Arizona, definitely a close second to that Duke team. Both dominant teams in college basketball right now. At the top, we have some of the most talented rosters, talented teams in college basketball history. So, in the past couple of years, I think it's like 7 out of the last 10, or excuse me, all 10 of the last years, we've had one team that is over a 35.00 net rating. Those teams make it very far in the tournament. 4 of the last 10 years, maybe 7. I'm going to get the stat wrong, but it's an insane one. 4 to 7, somewhere in that range of the last 10 years, those teams have won the national championship. This year, you've got 4 teams in college basketball that have a net rating over 35. And that is Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. So if you're a betting man, if you're a bracketology man, I'm putting money on one of those 4 teams. I'm taking those 4 teams versus the field. Florida is probably going to be a 2 seed. UConn's kind of got that 4th 1 seed almost locked up. Florida could sneak in there with a SEC championship and UConn an early exit from the Big East tournament. We shall see. But those 4 teams are by far the best teams in college basketball. I'm on Florida. So I think Florida is one of the best basketball teams I've ever watched in person. When we saw them this year and they came to Athens earlier in the season, it was just a bloodbath. This Florida team is absolutely scary. But let's talk bubble. So your last 4 buys are SMU, TCU, UCLA, and Texas A&M. Those teams are somewhat safely in, but we've seen in the past couple of weeks a lot of these teams that were in the last 4 buys, even ahead of the last 4 buys category, have faded into the abyss and have dropped out of bubble talk. One of those teams being Auburn, who is barely above 500. They might be 15-15 now. No. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even remember. It's too hard to keep up with Auburn basketball. They are the biggest roller coaster of a team. So anyways, those last 4 buys, we could see some fluctuation as some of those teams drop to the last 4 in category or even the first 4 out category. But let's talk last 4 in. Currently, you got Santa Clara, Ohio State, New Mexico, and Indiana in the last 4 in. First 4 out Auburn, San Diego State, VCU, and Virginia Tech. And your next 4 out, USC, Cal, West Virginia, and Cincinnati. So, as of yesterday, Joe Lenardi updated his bracketology. He did it this morning. That's how they stand right now. But yesterday, the last 4 byes were all 4 SEC teams. And then your last 4 in, the first team of that category was Auburn. Auburn loses. They're out. They're in the first 4 out now. But what was looking like going to be kind of a smooth finish to the SEC regular season, and you're going to get in 10, maybe 11 teams into the tournament, has turned into scary hours for the SEC, with those 5 teams being in these last 2 categories of last 4 byes and last 4 in. It's going to come down to the SEC tournament, and one of these teams could play themselves out of a tournament bid because of how the committee seeds these Power 4 conferences. As we well know, these Power 4 conferences get the top 11 seeds. Then 12 through 16, those seeds are left for your non-Power 4 teams, Group of 5 champions, and that's your High Point universities, that's your Loyola Chicago's, or your, anywhere in that realm of, Group of 5 champions. Those are the teams that could be 12 to 16 seeds. So, because the committee will not want to put an SEC team at a 12 or 13 seed, we could see one of these teams, and that is Auburn, Texas A&M, Georgia, Missouri, and Texas, fall out of conversation because of their SEC tournament performances. So those 5 teams, despite having a few wins in the regular season to close out the year, if they close out the year strong, it could come down to the SEC tournament. So definitely something to keep your eye on in SEC conference play, in the tournament play. So crazy stuff. But let's talk about some big-time games we got tonight. We have, I believe, 10 ranked opponents playing tonight. So you got number 23, Tennessee, at South Carolina, number 16, Bama, at Georgia, TCU at number 10, Texas Tech, Wake Forest at number 13, Virginia, Clemson at number 17, North Carolina, Georgetown at number 18, St. John's, Toledo at number 19, Miami, Mississippi State at number 5, Florida, Oregon at number 11, Illinois, 9, Nebraska at UCLA, and then a game I had to throw in there is LSU at Auburn. That's a huge one for the Tigers, for the War Eagles, for the Plainsmen, whatever you want to call Auburn. It is a big-time game for Auburn because they are sitting right there on that cusp. And while they have the nation's hardest schedule, 16, 17 quad 1 opponents on their slate, they are 500. And we have not seen a 500 team in this tournament in a very long time. So Auburn is sitting right there on the bubble, first team out. This is a massive one as they host LSU tonight. They've got to close out the regular season with 2 wins and then maybe a little tournament run if they want to save their season and get into the tournament. Which brings me to my point that has dominated college basketball headlines, and that is former Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl showing a little bias on the TNT studio hit. He's now a TV analyst. His son, of course, Stephen Pearl, is the head coach of Auburn basketball. Auburn basketball, one of those bubble teams, and the other team that they're kind of competing for that is in this debate is Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is the 19th ranked team in the country right now, the only undefeated team in college basketball, 29-0, entering tonight's game against Toledo. But because they are in the MAC conference, because they are a group of 5, because even though they are an undefeated team, if they slip up and they stumble and they lose in the MAC conference tournament, we could see them left out as a 1-loss team, which is absolutely asinine in my book, because Miami of Ohio has a terrible strength of schedule. They have a top 30, I believe, strength of record, which is different from strength of schedule, but their strength of schedule is like 354th. It is awful in college basketball. I mean, they're with the Fairleigh Dickinsons of the world, who's not even relevant this year. But they have played 10 quad 2 and quad 3 opponents this year. They are 10-0 against those teams, of course. I want to say to you what teams have some quad 2 and quad 3 losses. Auburn has some quad 2 and quad 3 losses. Michigan Number 3 team in the country has a quad 2 loss. You've got Miami in there, Virginia. You've got some big time programs, big time tournament teams that have quad 2 and quad 3 losses on the year. So I know that they have a super easy schedule and no a quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 schedule is the same in college basketball. But to go undefeated in those 2 quadrants of college basketball is unheard of. It is almost impossible to do in college basketball. The landscape we live in right now, Miami of Ohio is undefeated, and it's nuts. So I'm on Miami of Ohio's side. If they get eliminated in the MAC conference and they don't win the tournament title, I'm saying they should still be in as an at-large team. No team with 1 loss should ever be left out of the NCAA tournament. I think that is so stupid. But Bruce Pearl comes on television and he's like, Miami of Ohio, they don't really deserve a spot if they lose in the conference tournament. He was clearly vying for his former team, the Auburn Tigers, where his son now coaches. I think it is so stupid. And Miami of Ohio's athletic director took to Twitter and said, Bruce Pearl, you are not allowed to say that. He even referred to Auburn as we, like using first-person pronouns, talking about the Auburn Tigers. And Miami of Ohio's athletic director called him out on Twitter, and it made him look like a fool. And Bruce Pearl came back and he said, no, I wasn't showing any bias toward Auburn. BS, my friend. BS. You were totally showing some bias toward your Auburn Tigers. I think that is stupid. Miami of Ohio should be in over the Auburn Tigers. I know we've got some comments rolling in here on the live chat. Miami should be in from Payne_Walker. They deserve to be in no matter what. I am with you. There is no reason a 29-0 team currently, even if they have 1 loss, should be left out. That is so stupid. And if the committee does that, there is going to be outrage among the college basketball universe. So Miami of Ohio got to get a win tonight at Toledo. I do agree that if they have 2-3 losses, 2 stretch. 3 losses probably get left out. That would be including a loss in the conference tournament. But if they're a 1-loss team, they get eliminated, they slip up in the conference tournament, they should not be left out. I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to make myself clear. Miami of Ohio deserves to be in this tournament. All right, let's talk a little college baseball. We are going to Kennesaw State tonight for Georgia, taking on Kennesaw State right here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be awesome. We saw last year Wes Johnson get thrown out of this game at Kennesaw State. We saw Brian Curley look back at the runner on second, stick his tongue out, and throw a nasty curveball to end the game, K'd him up, ball game. Georgia wins 6-4. There's some beef between these 2 teams, and I am excited to be there tonight. It is all thanks to our friends at Hughes Subaru. Hughes Subaru is the best car dealership in the world. I drive a 2019 Subaru Outback, and those 4 wheels have gotten me across the country to multiple sporting events, and it is electric. We have the best content with the Hammy Show on the road, and we are going to Kennesaw State tonight thanks to Hughes Subaru. So if you're in the market for a car, check out Hughes Subaru. They've got a car for you on that lot with your name written all over it. And then if you have a Subaru, take it to their services department. They have the best services department. They are quick, they are fast, and they have a smile on their face. It is glorious to work with Hughes Subaru of Athens, and we cannot thank them enough for powering the Hammy Show on the road. So, yeah, huge one tonight. It's going to be awesome. We've got a midweek game that has some serious matter behind it, if you will. I love midweek baseball. This is when you get into conference play and you see those non-conference opponents on your schedule. But this is pre-conference play, so of course it's going to be non-conference opponents in the midweek. Kennesaw State, like I said, there's some beef between Georgia and this team. I am excited because what we saw last year was a fired-up Wes Johnson, a fired-up Brian Curley, and a ball game for the ages. Tonight, we could be seeing the same thing. We're going to have all the content coming to you from here on social media, Instagram, TikTok, at @the_Hammy Show on Instagram, @the_Hammy Show, no underscore there on TikTok. So stay tuned. Another headline from college baseball, a ham line, if you will, that's what we call them around here, is number 2 LSU got upset last night. They're 11-2 on the year, still one of the best baseball teams. I think the best baseball team in America. They lost to Northeastern, though. They were down 10-0 at one point, fought all the way back. They only lost by 3 runs, 13-10. But Crazy stuff to see the Tigers fall to a midweek opponent like that. All this to say, the midweek games matter, my friends. If you're not watching midweek baseball, you're absolutely crazy because it is great baseball. No matter what, if you got guys on the diamond, it's good baseball. So, my friends, tune in tonight. Georgia at Kennesaw State, 6 p.m. We will be there shortly in about an hour and 13 minutes and counting from right now. All right, so Cade Black, 874, talking about Payne Walker, talking about greatest script ever. I love it. I love it. Hammy, I hope the bench is clear tonight. Dude, I would love to see it. We're going to give you all of the content. We're going to film it. We're going to get everything that happens there on the diamond at Kennesaw State. Fred Stiller Field, I believe. I can't remember what it's called, but it's going to be awesome. But guys, that does it for me here on the Daily Ham, episode 14. We are the Hammy Show, presented by First American Bank and Trust, but I want to give one more shout out to my friends at Vinyl Frontier. The Vinyl Frontier is the best record store in all of America. Right in Carrollton, Georgia, on the town square off of I-20. If you're traveling down there, pop in. It's the coolest place ever. It's all about the experience of going there. They've got every record you can imagine. Put it on, listen to it, figure out what type of music you like, what artist you like, talk to the guys behind the desk. They'll love talking to you, figuring out what type of music you like, and they'll pick out the best record for you. But if you can't make it, go to their website, thevinylfrontier.com, and you can find any record in the entire universe. They'll get it to you as soon as possible. All right, Payne Walker, we got one more comment coming in the live chat. Thoughts on the orange accessories from Phelps? I hate them. Hate them. Orange is the worst color in the rainbow in the universe. It is awful. It is terrible to see orange on a Georgia player. But when your name is Trey Phelps and you're hitting over 500 on the year and you have a 27-game hitting streak and you're just balling out, you're in the conversation for the Golden Spikes Award early in the season, Trey Phelps, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying. I don't like orange, and I would prefer you not to wear orange, but I understand because you're a total badass and I respect you and you're one of the greatest players Georgia baseball has had in a very long time. I love Trey Phelps. If he wants to wear orange, I guess it's going to fly. It's going to have to fly with him because it's some type of mojo thing, and if it keeps the mojo going, if this Georgia team keeps swagging along and we just keep winning ball games, then Trey Phelps, you do whatever you want. You do whatever we want. But guys, that does it for me here on the Daily Ham, episode 14. Can you believe we've done 14 episodes? We're going to be right back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. It's going to be electric. We're talking all sports. We've got so much going on. March is maybe the greatest month in sports of all time. You got March Madness. You got the PGA Tour. You got baseball kicking off. You got NASCAR every single Sunday. I mean, it's awesome stuff. World Baseball Classic. We're on a World Baseball Classic year. We talked a little bit about that. It's going to be an awesome March, and we've got it all covered for you right here on the Daily Ham. So, guys, I'm your host, Hammy Culpepper. This is the Hammy Show, presented by First American Bank and Trust. Huge shout-out to them for sponsoring and presenting the Hammy Show. That does it for me. I guess we're going to wrap it up here, and I'll see you very shortly in about an hour and 10 minutes at Kennesaw State for some Georgia baseball action. But as always, my friends, remember, ham it up.